Hi, this is Glenn Gabe from G Squared Interactive, and this is episode 18 of SEO from the Front Lines. There's a lot going on. We have a broad core update rolling out. I've been sharing about that across social media. It really started to land Friday into Saturday. There's a lot of impact going on, like with any broad core update. But today, I wanted to cover my latest blog post, which was based upon Pandu Nayak's comments about site level versus page level impact and evaluation that came out of the recent Creator Summit, where a lot of people that were heavily impacted by the September helpful content update were there and came out. And as soon as I heard that, it almost made my head explode. The reason is because for years and years I've been documenting how powerful Google's site level quality algorithms can be, especially for broad core updates. And then obviously I've been heavily involved with major algorithm updates like Medieval Panda and Penguin of the Past, the helpful content update, which had a site level classifier, Pirate algorithm, which also has a site level classifier, and then obviously with broad core updates, like I said before, there's site level quality algorithms that can have a really big impact on the site in Discover across Google surfaces. That's where sites can really plummet overnight, sometimes by 60, 70% or even more. I think the worst drop I've ever seen was a site that dropped by 91% overnight. This is from a broad core update. So anyway, of course, there's site level impact and evaluation. So to hear a senior Googler say that there wasn't was definitely a little disturbing for me. So what I did was I went into what I called the Gabeback Machine. Instead of Wayback Machine, because I document everything. It's just a thing of mine. And I usually share those things in presentations and blog posts and on Twitter and LinkedIn and so on and so forth. So I have a whole document filled with that. And I said, let me just gather all of the most important points about site level evaluation and impact and just see how this post comes out. And it's a beast. So if you are going to read it, and a lot of people have been reading it today, which is really cool, definitely grab a cup of coffee or maybe a pot of coffee. So what I wanted to do is just cover some key points from the blog post. So at first, I go through major algorithm updates with broad impact, right? So this is site level impact. And over the years, there have been several. So the first thing I wanted to do is cover, like at the Nest presentation, which I gave recently, just about major algorithm updates outside of broad core updates, because everybody thinks about core updates, but Google can actually craft powerful algorithm updates outside of that, and then unleash them when they basically uncover a loophole or something going on that broad core updates aren't taken care of. So great examples are Panda of the Past, Penguin, the reviews updates, which are still running but behind the scenes, the infamous helpful content update. What's not up here is the Pirate update, which I also cover in this post. So basically how that works is loophole discovered, search engineers at work, heavy testing is completed, they're excited to launch, but what happens sometimes, unfortunately, and these were animated GIFs in my presentation, you can end up with Frankenstein smoking a cigar, and you don't want that. And that was kind of what happened with the helpful content update. But anyway, the point being is that, as you can see in these screenshots, yes, that's site level impact. I mean, these are two sites heavily impacted by the September helpful content update. And no, not every page on the site suddenly became low quality. There was a classifier applied, and I'll cover more about that in a second. And all rankings get dragged down, right? So this is what it can look like. This is a search from a search visibility standpoint. The GSC access I have to of sites impacted by major algorithm updates, and when they're heavily impacted, look like that as well. So I went through very specific things. So Exhibit 1, helpful content update. So I was one of, I think it was 5 SEOs that spoke with Google before the original helpful content update rolled out. That was in August of 2022. And man, it really sounded like Panda of the Past to me. It was, site level classifier that was confirmed by Google. I spoke with Danny Sullivan on a call. And from the beginning, this is a negative classifier, right? So if Google saw a lot of unhelpful content, what it considered unhelpful content, then the classifier could be applied, and that would drag down rankings across the entire site. So that was on the call. It's in my post. Here's a quote. And then, of course, in the actual blog post, on how the update works, they even say it's a new site-wide signal that they consider among other signals. I mean, so of course there's site-wide signals. I mean, so when I heard page level only, again, my head almost exploded. So you can read more about that in the post. The second exhibit was Google's Penguin algorithm, right? So this was, basically a spam algorithm that if you were gaming PageRank with many, many spammy links with exact match anchor text, and you got hit by Penguin, you knew it. Those sites absolutely got obliterated. Again, site level, right? So you could see in the documentation from Google about the update, it's sites affected, right? It's not talking about certain pages affected. It was a site level classifier, right? Then I went into medieval Panda, same deal. There was a Panda filter. It was a Panda score. And if your score was, below a certain point, look out, right? Because as Google refreshed or rolled out a new Panda algorithm, which was like every 6 to 8 weeks, you can get demolished, right? And these were like for large scale sites, I always saw 60 to 80% drop across a lot of these sites from a Google standpoint. The good thing about Panda was that you could recover. I helped a lot of sites figure out all the thin content, lower quality content, user experience problems, all sorts of stuff going on there. And you did have a chance to come back, even with the next Panda update, although typically, it wasn't like one Panda update and you're back. But it also wasn't like years of being down. So anyway, you could see here, this update is designed to reduce rankings for low quality sites which are low value add for users. It was never about pages. It was, a filter applied to the site. Exhibit 4, Google's pirate algorithm. A lot of people don't even know about it. It's there. I wrote a whole post covering my analysis of that back in 2013. But if basically a site has a lot of DMCA takedowns, basically, and they're real, not fake, and Google deems that they're real, then that site, if it hits a certain threshold, it can absolutely plummet. The whole site can be dragged down, right? So here's a quote from Google's announcement of this. Sites with high numbers of removal notices may appear lower in our results. Sites, not pages. So that was about pirate. Again, you could read more about this, and I linked to my post there with my analysis of that. That's still running, by the way. From everything we know, that's running all the time. So I don't think it's like a real-time algorithm. I think it needs to be refreshed. But anyway, it's still there. The other thing to know that's important, I always cover this with clients, is that when Google talks about site level, historically that's been at the hostname level. Makes sense, right? So it's more of like on the subdomain. So if everything's on www for you, then that's your site, right? If you have a site, like there are some large scale clients that I help that have 4 or 5 different subdomains because they're really huge sites, you can often see with broad core updates, certain subdomains surge, others drop, some stay stable while others surge or drop, and that's because it's on the hostname level. So it's important to understand, and Google's documented that several times over the years, and I include some of that in this post. And then I go into what I call Exhibit X, just because there's so many examples and quotes and videos that I've documented over the years. And I started off by saying I didn't want to like overwhelm readers, and then I said, what the heck? Let me put a whole slew of stuff in there. So this is tweets of mine to YouTube videos to Google's documentation. There's all sorts of stuff that you can go through here. So for example, Google's John Mueller about quality being a site level signal. Super important to understand that, right? So quality, when people talk about quality, it is site level. That's why when Google has a reevaluation of quality during broad core updates, sites can either plummet or surge, right? And again, there's videos that you could actually go through there as well. So I have some pointed out. So that was John. So let me hop to some more in here. So let's see. Here's a good one from Paul Haahr. So Paul Haahr is one of the smartest, most experienced engineers working on Google's algorithms and systems. And I love this one. This basically says it all, right? So this is Paul, and this is ironic. This was an article written by Danny Sullivan, but when he wasn't at Google yet. So anyway, it was quotes from Paul. When all things are equal with 2 different pages, site-wide signals can help individual pages. Consider two articles on the same topic, one on the Wall Street Journal and another on some fly-by-night domain. Given absolutely no other information, given information we have now, the Wall Street Journal article looks better. That would be us propagating information from the domain to the page level. This is exactly what I'm talking about, right? So Google's looking at these two, right? And let's just take two in a vacuum and say, oh, wow, we know the Wall Street Journal, we know the New York Times, we know these super authoritative news sites, and then some fly-by-night domain, and that's an extreme difference there. Of course, Wall Street Journal is going to rank, even if it's a brand new article, it's on a domain that's trusted and has a high level of quality. Another quote from that interview, again, because Paul is awesome, really, really smart. I've had a chance to actually meet Paul twice. Really, really smart guy, knows a lot. Okay, here's his quote. That's not to say Google doesn't have site-wide signals that, in turn, can influence individual pages. How fast a site is or when a site is impacted by malware are two things that can have an impact on pages within those sites. Or in the past, Google's Penguin update, which I brought up before, that was aimed at spam operated on a site-wide basis. So again, this is one of like a lead ranking engineer explaining to you site-wide. Then one I just added today, I had forgot to put it in. I know I have come across this, which was in the March 2024 core update, which was one of the most complex core updates Google's ever rolled out. So Google explains there's an FAQ, and the FAQ is titled, "What ranking signals does a site have?" Right? And Google explains that they do have some site-wide signals that are considered, right? So literally in one of the most recent large broad core updates, they're even saying it in an FAQ. So the idea that there's only page level is crazy because we know that there's site level adjustments. Let's see if I can go down and find some more. Okay, here's a good one. So this is again from John during a Webmaster Hangout, talking about quality of the site overall, and that can have effects in different places across the website. And I love this quote: lower quality content can pull down the higher quality content on the site. Right. So that's basically a site level view of quality. And if there's a lot of low quality, and I call this quality indexing, if you read my blog post, you'll see that all over the place in my presentations because it's really important. How much of your site is high quality versus low quality. If you have a significant portion that's low quality, it can drag down the high quality. This is why you should really, especially large scale and complex sites, really manage what I call quality indexing. So that was really important to understand. Let's see. So testing for broad core updates is very hard since it's a small subset of pages, not enough for Google to see a site as higher quality, right? So again, don't just look at specific pieces that are smaller amounts of the site, smaller portions of the site. Look at the site overall. Let's see. Rich snippets. Let me get to that part. So this is just another segment about, this one was specifically about losing or gaining rich snippets during a broad core update. Of course, because it's due to an overall site quality evaluation, right? So this was an interview, not an interview, this was a podcast where Gary Eish was talking about Panda scores, right? Because I brought up Panda again, and how that could impact rich snippets on your site. Right. So again, it's not like Google said, this URL, we're not going to provide rich snippets. This is a site level adjustment. Then there was Google researchers about authority and trust. This was pretty interesting. So I had tweeted about this in 2021. So in the proposal, the Google researchers address authority and trust. That's at the domain level. So there are many known techniques for estimating the authority and veracity of a web page, from fact-checking claims within a single page to aggregating quality signals at the logical domain level. So again, this is just another example of Googlers. This is across a lot of multiple Googlers at this point talking about domain level. Then there's, and I'm sorry, I'm just hopping around here. There's a lot that I provided in this post. Discover visibility. So Discover is another Google surface that, from an overall site quality perspective, you can surge back or you can drop. We're seeing it right now with the core update that's actually rolling out. I've had multiple clients see that. I've had people reach out to me through email and Twitter saying, hey, we got impacted by the August core update or March core update or a core update before that, and we lost all Discover visibility and we're back now, blah, blah, blah. So that can absolutely happen. So again, that's a site level thing. There's just a few more I wanted to cover in this podcast. Here's a cool one. So for a new page, if it's on a high quality site, right, that Google trusts, we might rank it higher from the start. Right. So of course, this is why, some people reach out to me and go, oh, that page is ranking, but it has no inbound links. And I'm like, well, it's not based on the page, it's based on the quality of the site. So this is why trusted sites can have their pages crawled quickly and ranking quickly. Google's saying it right here. And the last one I wanted to cover was just revisiting Pandu's comments about page level versus site level. And my point with this is it may just come down to semantics, right? I wasn't at the meeting. I'm trusting what people are saying, that he said there's no site level, ranking adjustment, that everything's at the page level. But there are several examples in the quotes and videos and everything that I listed out here in the documentation about site level ranking scores impacting page level scoring, right? So sure, maybe it's page level, but if it's taking into account a filter that's site level or a classifier, then that's really site level. Right? So, and again, I don't know, I wasn't there. All I know is that I have a million examples of Googlers, even recently, saying, yes, there are site level signals that they look at and they could have a big impact. So that's it. If you want to check it out, my post is on my blog at gsqi.com. I'll link to it in the show notes. And it's just a really important one to understand. And you could go through all those points and videos and stuff. There's a lot that you can learn from. It's really cool, all of these quotes and information from Google over the years. And to send along to clients or people that don't believe that there's site level adjustments. Of course there are, and Google's been explaining that for a while. So that's it. Expect more from me on the podcast about the core update. Again, we're in the middle of it, and there's been a lot of movement based on that. So I'll be covering that on the podcast. I'll be covering it on social media like X and LinkedIn and Blue Sky. And that is it. So if you have any questions about this, don't hesitate. You can ping me on X or LinkedIn or send me an email or whatever. Love hearing from people. If there's anything I can clarify, I will. So until the next episode, thanks for watching, and I will see you soon.